Good afternoon. My name is Ms. Zurich, and we are going to do a quick lesson on a theorist whose name is Francis Galton. To start our lesson, we're going to work on a quick worksheet, and I'm going to pass these out and have Anna Marie pass them out to everyone, and we'll talk about that in a second. On your worksheets, you'll see a picture of a man and a woman. You'll also notice that there's a few sentences, a couple of questions for everybody. I'd like you to just take a minute or two and read the questions and give me some brief answers and descriptions. In the meantime, I'm going to pass a few things out and also count off ones and twos. 1, 2, Betsy. 1, Meredith. 2, Brett. 3, Corey, or 1, Corey. 2, Tracy.
It's great. I'm thinking. What's it? Oh. We'll plug it in again in a minute.
To Emily. 1, Alyssa. 2, Brittany. 1, Sonia. And 2, Jack. When you're finished, please put your pens down and look up so I can know that you're done.
Oh, do you have on? What do you read this way?
Yeah, just a brief answer at the bottom. If you feel the need to explain, that would be great. It will come up in a little bit here. Okay, let's finish up for now, and we'll come back to this in a second. And Brett, could you start us on Francis Galton and read your card to us?
Okay. Galton, most known for contributions to genetics, known as father of behavioral genetics, also contributed to fields of biology, psychology, statistics, and education.
Excellent. So Francis Galton was a man of many hats. He was a mathematician. He was an explorer. He's also contributed to many fields, including psychology and education. He is most known, however, for his work on heredity, which we will talk about in a second. And can I have Betsy please read the next one?
Right. He studies extensively in Africa, begins his love affair with Africa, and in 1865, after his cousin Charles Darwin publishes The Origin of Species, Galton begins to study heredity and variations in human development.
Great, thanks, Betsy. So Galton had a huge influence with Charles Darwin, who was, as Betsy stated, his cousin. He ended up spending quite a bit of time in Africa and really being, I think, a sociologist in many ways, but he had a real knack and passion for statistics and calculations. So that's where his his studies stem from was his math and statistics. He came to be known because of that as a true man of science when he was in Africa. And Tracy, could you please?
Says Galton begins tracing lineages of prominent men in Europe. In 1869, in his book Hereditary Genius, he hypothesizes that human mental abilities and personality traits, no less than the plant and animal traits described by Darwin, were essentially inherited.
Thanks, Tracy. Can you turn to your neighbors and please teach each other quickly how Galton, his most important contributions just now. Thank you. Teach.
Okay.
All right, so I guess he contributed extremely to the fields of biology, psychology, statistics, and education. And he's known as the father of behavioral genetics. Behavioral genetics. So he influenced a lot of psychology.
Traits from plants and
That's what it says? What it says?
Darwin.
Okay. Well, that's great.
Class.
Yes.
Yes.
Corey, what was his most important?
His most important thing.
Yeah.
He
What
was
we
the
just-
father of behavioral genetics.
Okay. Question for us. On our worksheets, the first part of the worksheet had to do with some characteristics that you feel could have been passed down from your parents. Can those of you who believe that you have characteristics from your parents that would be inherited regardless of whether you were around your parents or not, stand up? So about half the class. Any comments on that?
From anyone?
What's an example of one of these characteristics, whether it's personality or that?
I thought that maybe that the intelligence part could be hereditary, but a lot of personality traits I feel like you get from actually being with somebody, like being with my mom for a long amount of time. Like we do the same things, like we kind of have the same personality, so I feel like some things are hereditary and some things are just.
Excellent. Anybody else comment on that?
I kind
Okay.
of agree with her. It's kind of one. That's why I didn't stand up, because I kind of feel
Like a
like
half and half?
yeah, because intelligence maybe I would think maybe the only thing, and then maybe a few diseases.
And the other half of the class who didn't stand up. Any comments, please?
I think a majority of it is nurture as opposed to nature. I spent a lot of time with my mom. She's a stay-at-home mom, and I am a lot like her, and a lot of people tell me that. So I think it's
Mhm.
mostly because of all the time that I've spent with her, a lot more than like genetics.
Anybody else?
I agree with that as well. Like a lot of people tell me that I'm more like my mom than I am like my dad, and it makes sense because I spent more time with my mom. So I ended up gaining a lot more of her traits in the way that she problem solves and her thought pattern versus like my dad, since we didn't spend as much time together. I don't really share the same traits with him.
Yeah, I definitely feel similarly on that. Jack, could you please read us your card?
This idea led to the categorization and ranking of populations based on measurable traits and natural ability. So here begins the eugenics movement. Call for methods of sorry, I can't picture right. Improve calls for methods of improving the biological makeup of the human species throughout selective paradigm.
Thank you.
Can you press the red button? Okay.